Hi, welcome back to Celebrating Culture. We're here today at the Krewe of Allah Parade, and I'm with Jim Kelly of Covenant House, who is the featured nonprofit this year for the Krewe of Allah. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Jim, not only are you featured, but they actually created a doubloon for you guys.
Isn't that neat? I mean, it's really unique, but in essence, it's a white dove, or for those of us who believe, it's the Holy Spirit. And we believe that we can help our kids to launch.
And I understand that this was designed and the proceeds will benefit Covenant House.
Isn't that neat? I mean, because, we depend on the goodness of strangers. We're not a governmental program. It's people like you who support our work.
And I got to think, this is the first non-circular doubloon I've ever seen. This has got to be a collector's item.
Oh, wonderful.
So I was thinking if somebody wants these, it's a great time to buy some of these for your own collection.
Yeah,
and help Covenant House.
And I'd love to share it with Covenant Houses across the country, because I think they'll find it really neat, not knowing the history of Mardi Gras and Allah.
Well, Sean Gautreaux is the artist of this, and I know he does the work, and he was very thrilled to do this job for you, for this parade and for you guys.
Well, we're grateful. Covenant House is so much about the community coming to care for our kids. We're not a governmental program. 80% of the funds we have comes from people like you. And what I've seen in the 33 years I've been at Covenant House is New Orleans has a big heart. And when young people have been abused or assaulted, the violence and trauma, New Orleans comes together to say, we want to help those kids get back on their feet. We want to renew their spirit, and we want to launch them, to be future leaders of our community.
So when did you start Covenant House? And your wife?
My wife, absolutely. I always say my wife and I started Covenant House. We came down at the invitation of Archbishop Hannon. He would see the young people in the French Quarter. And in very Archbishop Hannon paratrooper way, he came and knocked on our door on 8th Avenue and 43rd Street in New York City and said, when can you come? And so my wife was from Birmingham, I was from New York. We got married and we came straight from Assisi on our honeymoon to New Orleans.
Wow, I don't know if you know, but also Mother Cabrini came to New Orleans from New York as well in 1892. So it's very similar situation where she went into the French Quarter for yellow fever. You guys came in to deal with homelessness, really, and youth.
Right. Homeless youth, and at-risk youth. That's the population we care for. 90% have been physically or sexually abused, right? Lots of our kids have ended up in the foster care system, sadly in the juvenile justice system. 25% of the young people who walk through our door have been involved in human trafficking or sexual labor. And it's really just horrifying and evil. That's the only way to describe that kind of a business.
And we're just seeing now where the media, you'll see a headline in the newspaper, and the media is finally starting to do some stories about the awareness in the French Quarter of how big the problem is. And you guys have been there for decades.
Yeah, I go back to the days we used to call it child prostitution, which is just a horrible term. How can a child be a prostitute?
Wow.
Right?
Yes.
But understand that human traffickers prey on the youngest and the most vulnerable members of our society. And what happens to these young women is just unbelievable, from fractured jaws to being raped to be sexually assaulted. Every time a trafficker sells you to a John, that's rape.
Absolutely.
That's rape. And I'm glad that we're finally starting to wake up, but we need more resources. We need to see stricter penalties, right? Not misdemeanors, right? We've got to shut this down, and we can.
Now, what I wanted to ask is with the girls. The deal is not to look at the girl as a criminal, but actually to take the girl in rehab and get her high school or GED or whatever it needs, and that's where you guys step in.
That's right. When they come to us, they're victims. When they leave us, they're survivors. And the young woman who leads our human trafficking efforts was a Covenant House kid 23 years ago. But sadly, she was also a trafficking victim. But she's been able to take that experience, to take that very personal experience, and to have great success with the young women and the young men that we work with, because they know she's walked in their shoes.
Now also, your big night of the year is the Sleep Out Night. Covenant House, you're part of a national organization.
Sure. We have Covenant Houses, I call it a federation. We have Covenant Houses across the country. And we have a Sleep Out the Thursday night before Thanksgiving, if the Saints aren't playing. This past year, 200 community members, community leaders, from bank presidents to teachers to lawyers, all came together And they raised over $500,000 for our young people and slept out on Rampart Street with a thin piece of cardboard and a sleeping bag.
I noticed like a moving company provides the boxes, I guess. For this.
Yeah, that's right. Two men in a truck
yes.
gives us 3
and
boxes.
you had 200 of those boxes.
Lined up around the block. And this year we're hoping, you know, that we're going to climb into maybe 225 or 250 sleepers.
And it's very impressive to see that turnout in the community. And I know there's many leaders of the community that are actually starting to make sure their kids even know about it as well.
That's right. We had some who've brought their children. We have 2 and 3 generation in some cases. But it's a special night. I always say it's a grace-filled night. It's a retreat. It's in essence a modern day retreat, and the retreat directors are street kids.
Well, I would say I love what you guys are doing in your location of being on the outskirts of the quarter on Rampart Street. It's got to allow you to be able to just go in so quickly to the French Quarter to rescue somebody.
If I was to pick any block in all of New Orleans, that's the block I would have picked. We've got the park on 2 sides of us, the police station on the 3rd side of us, and we're 3 blocks from Bourbon. I call that God's providence.
That's true, that's true. Well, I want to wish you a great ride. God has blessed us with a beautiful day for the parade today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And if someone wants to find out more about Covenant House, where do they go?
CovenantHouseNOLA.org. All the opportunities to volunteer, to donate, and of course we're always seeking prayer.
Excellent. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of Celebrating Culture.